At 9:17 a.m. on October 26, 1942, Lieutenant Stanley Swede Vejtasa sat in the cockpit of his F-4F Wildcat fighter above the USS Enterprise, watching 67 Japanese aircraft, dive bombers, torpedo planes, and Zero fighters screaming toward his carrier. He led a 4-plane combat air patrol, 4 American fighters, against 67 Japanese aircraft. The mathematics were impossible, but Swede had survived impossible before. 5 months earlier, May 8, 1942, Battle of the Coral Sea, Swede was flying a Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bomber. Not a fighter, a bomber. Slow, heavy, designed to drop bombs on ships, not dogfight enemy fighters. He was leading an anti-torpedo patrol when 8 Mitsubishi A6M Zero fighters attacked his formation. The Zero was the most feared fighter in the Pacific. Maximum speed, 350 mph. Climb rate, 3,000 feet per minute. Turn radius, legendary. Japanese pilots called it the aircraft that could not be shot down. The SBD Dauntless that Swede was flying, maximum speed, 255 mph, 95 miles per hour slower than a Zero. Climb rate, 1,700 feet per minute. Turn radius, pathetic. Every fighter pilot in the Pacific knew the rule. If you're in a dive bomber and Zeros attack, you run. You dive for the deck. You pray. You don't fight. Swede didn't run. For 8 minutes, he dogfought 8 Zeros in a dive bomber. When the fight ended, 3 Zeros were destroyed. Swede's Dauntless had 55 bullet holes, but he was alive. His rear gunner was alive, and they'd done the impossible. The Navy didn't believe it at first. Dive bombers don't shoot down Zeros. It was statistically impossible, but Swede's gun camera footage proved it. The wreckage proved it. Japanese records later confirmed. 3 Zeros lost. Swede Vejtasa was awarded his 2nd Navy Cross for dogfighting in a dive bomber, but that was May. This was October. Now Swede was flying a real fighter, the F-4F Wildcat, and 67 Japanese aircraft were diving toward Enterprise. His wingman, Lieutenant Dave Harris, was beside him. 2 more Wildcats, Lieutenant William Leader and Lieutenant J.G. Marvin Franger, were 2,000 feet above. 4 fighters, 67 attackers. Swede keyed his radio. "All Reapers, tally-ho, Vals and Kates inbound, we're going in." He pushed the throttle forward. The Wildcat's Pratt & Whitney R1830 engine roared on 200 horsepower, maximum speed, 320 mph. Ahead of him, Aichi D-3A Val dive bombers, Nakajima B-5N Kate torpedo bombers, and somewhere in the swarm, Zero fighters providing escort. Swede had 6 50 caliber machine guns, 240 rounds per gun, 1,140 rounds total. Enough ammunition for approximately 15 seconds of sustained fire. He would make every bullet count. By the end of this day, October 26, 1942, Swede Vejtasa would shoot down 7 Japanese aircraft, 2 Vals, 5 Kates in one mission, becoming an ace in a day. His commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander James Flatley, would recommend him for the Medal of Honor. The recommendation would be downgraded to a 3rd Navy Cross by an admiral angry that Swede had loudly objected to a suicide mission the day before. But medals didn't matter to Swede. What mattered was Enterprise. If those torpedo bombers reached the carrier, she would sink. Thousands of sailors would die. The battle for Guadalcanal would be lost. Swede refused to let that happen. This is the story of Stanley Swede Vejtasa, the only pilot in WW2 to earn Navy crosses for both dive bombing and aerial combat. The man who proved that skill and determination matter more than speed and firepower. The Montana farm boy who the Navy almost overlooked, who flew the wrong aircraft, who broke every tactical rule, and who saved Enterprise when it mattered most. Montana, July 27, 1914. Stanley Winfield Vejtasa was born on an isolated homestead to Czech-Norwegian immigrant parents. His childhood was harsh, remote. His family farmed 160 acres of rough Montana land. No electricity, no running water. Survival required work. Everyone worked, including young Stanley. He attended Montana State College, transferred to University of Montana, studied engineering, but engineering didn't call to him. Flying did. 1937. Swede enlisted in the U.S. Navy, Aviation Cadet Program. He wanted to be a pilot. The Navy tested him. Physical fitness excellent, eyesight perfect, reflexes exceptional, intelligence high. But there was one problem. Swede was from Montana, farm country, no ocean, no ships, no naval tradition. Most naval aviators came from Annapolis, Naval Academy graduates, officers bred for command. Swede was an enlisted man, aviation cadet, lower class. The Navy would train him to fly, but he'd never command a squadron, never become an admiral. He didn't care. He just wanted to fly. July 13, 1939. Swede earned his wings of gold. Naval aviator, commissioned ensign, August 1939. Assignment: Scouting Squadron 5, VS-5, USS Yorktown, flying the Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bomber. Swede had hoped for fighters, the glamorous assignment, dogfighting, aerial combat. Instead, dive bombers, the unglamorous workhorses of naval aviation, bomb the enemy, return to carrier, repeat. But Swede excelled. He became one of VS-5's best pilots. Precise bombing, steady hands, ice-cold nerves. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor, War, March 10th, 1942. Swede's first combat mission. Raids on Salamaua and Lae, New Guinea. Swede dove through intense anti-aircraft fire, dropped his 1,000-pound bomb on a Japanese transport. Direct hit. The ship exploded. He pulled up, circled, dove again on a second transport. Another direct hit. By the end of the day, Swede and VS-5 had sunk or damaged 3 Japanese vessels. Swede was awarded his first Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism in dive bombing. But he was still just a dive bomber pilot, not a fighter, not a dogfighter. May 7th, 1942. Battle of the Coral Sea, the first carrier versus carrier battle in history. Swede and VS-5 located the Japanese light carrier Shoho. 70 American aircraft swarmed the carrier. Swede dove from 10,000 feet, released his bomb at 2,500 feet, pulled up hard, direct hit. 12 American bombs hit Shoho. The carrier sank in minutes. The first Japanese carrier lost in Vejtasa. Swede returned to Yorktown, mission accomplished. But the next day, May 8th, everything changed. The Japanese carriers Shokaku and Zuikaku were still operational. They launched massive strikes against the American carriers. Swede was assigned anti-torpedo patrol, 4 SBD Dauntlesses flying defensive circles around Yorktown, protecting the carrier from Japanese torpedo bombers. At 11 hours, Swede's formation was jumped by 8 Zero fighters. The Zeros dove from above. Classic attack. Bounce the slow bombers. Kill them before they react. Standard doctrine. Dive away. Run. Zeros are faster, but SBDs can dive steeply and escape. Swede didn't run. He turned into the attack. The lead Zero opened fire. Swede's windscreen shattered. Bullets ripped through his wing. His rear gunner, aviation radio man 3rd Class Walter Schindler, returned fire with his single .30 caliber machine gun. Swede pulled the nose up, aimed his 2 forward firing. 50 caliber machine guns, fired. The Zero exploded. The other 7 Zeros circled. Confused, dive bombers don't fight back. Swede turned into the next Zero. Head-on pass, both aircraft firing. Closing speed over 600 mph. The Zero pilot flinched, broke left. Swede followed, got on his tail, fired a 2-second burst. The Zero's wings separated. The aircraft spun into the ocean. 2 Zeros down. The remaining 6 attacked simultaneously. Swede couldn't outrun them, couldn't outclimb them, couldn't outturn them, but he could outthink them. Swede used a defensive tactic he'd developed. Turn head-on into attackers, maximize the range and deflection of his forward guns, force the Zeros to break off or collide. It worked. Every time a Zero dove on him, Swede turned toward it, fired his guns. The Zero broke away. For 8 minutes this continued. 8 Zeros trying to kill one Dauntless. Swede maneuvering, firing, surviving. His rear gunner was magnificent. Schindler fired over 300 rounds, damaged 2 Zeros, kept the others from getting clean tail shots. Finally, Swede saw an opening. A Zero making a high side pass. Swede pulled lead, fired. The Zero's engine erupted in flames. It dove into the sea. 3 Zeros destroyed. The remaining 5 broke off. Fuel low, ammunition expended. They couldn't believe what had happened. A dive bomber had just shot down 3 Zeros. Swede returned to Yorktown. His Dauntless had 55 bullet holes. Hydraulic lines severed. Fuel tanks punctured. The aircraft was barely flyable, but Swede and Schindler were alive. The Navy awarded Swede his second Navy Cross. The citation specifically mentioned shooting down 3 Zero fighters while flying a dive bomber, but Swede's skill had been noticed. Lieutenant Commander James Flatley, commanding officer of Fighting Squadron 10, VF-10, the Grim Reapers, requested Swede for transfer. "I want him flying fighters," Flatley said. "Anyone who can dogfight Zeros in a dive bomber deserves to fly Wildcats." September 1942, Swede transferred to VF-10, USS Enterprise, flying F-4F Wildcats. He was finally a fighter pilot. And the biggest test of his life was 2 months away. Guadalcanal, August 7, 1942. U.S. Marines landed on the island. The first American offensive of the Pacific War. The Japanese fought back viciously. Naval battles, air battles, ground combat. The fight for Guadalcanal became a meat grinder. October 1942. The Japanese planned a massive offensive, retake Guadalcanal, destroy the American fleet, win the war in the Pacific. The plan required coordination. The Imperial Japanese Army would attack Henderson Field on Guadalcanal, ground assault, overwhelming force. Simultaneously, the Imperial Japanese Navy would engage the American carriers, sink them, cut off Marine support. October 25, 1942. The Japanese Southern Force, carriers Shokaku, Zuikaku, and Junyo, moved into position 200 miles north of the Santa Cruz Islands. The American fleet responded. Task Force 61, USS Enterprise, and USS Hornet. 2 carriers, supporting cruisers and destroyers. Commanding, Rear Admiral Thomas Kincaid. Kincaid was new to carrier command, promoted after the Battle of the Eastern Solomons, inexperienced, uncertain. October 25th, afternoon. Kincaid made a disastrous decision. He ordered Enterprise to launch a strike against the Japanese carriers, but the strike force was poorly coordinated, inexperienced pilots, wrong aircraft mix. Swede was in the ready room when the orders came down. He did quick calculations. Distance to Japanese fleet, 280 miles. Fuel capacity of the strike aircraft, insufficient for 560-mile round trip. Wind conditions, headwinds on return. Swede stood up, objected loudly. "This is a suicide mission. We can't reach the Japanese fleet and make it back. We'll run out of fuel and ditch in the ocean." Kincaid's staff officer responded, "Lieutenant, you have your orders." Swede, "I'm telling you, the math doesn't work. We won't make it back." The staff officer, "Dismissed, Lieutenant." The strike launched. Swede was not assigned to it. He was flying CAP, Combat Air Patrol, over Enterprise. The strike flew 280 miles. Found nothing. The Japanese carriers had moved. The strike turned back. Headwinds. Fuel gauges dropping. Exactly as Swede predicted, aircraft ran out of fuel. Pilots ditched in the ocean. 16 aircraft lost. Some pilots rescued. Others drowned. Swede had been right. The mission was suicide. Kincaid was furious, not at himself, at Swede for questioning orders. But the battle wasn't over. October 26, 1942, dawn. Both fleets launched scouts, searching for each other. Oro 6, 50 hours. Japanese scout found Enterprise and Hornet. Oro 7, 30 hours. American scout found Shokaku and Zuikaku. The race was on. Whoever struck first would win. The Japanese launched first. 67 aircraft, 21 Val dive bombers, 20 Kate torpedo bombers, 26 Zero fighters. The Americans launched second. Enterprise sent bombers and torpedo planes. Hornet did the same. But there was a problem with the American cap. Swede and the Grim Reapers should have launched at 08 Ruau, early, get altitude, position themselves above the incoming strike, but Kincaid delayed. 08, no launch. 08-15, no launch. 08-30, still waiting. Swede sat in his Wildcat on Enterprise's flight deck, engine idling, watching the clock. "What the hell are we waiting for?" he muttered to his wingman, Dave Harris. Harris, "No idea. They're coming. We know they're coming. Why aren't we launching?" 08-52. Japanese strike force detected on radar, 35 miles away, inbound. Finally, Kincaid ordered the launch. Too late. Swede took off at 08:55. Climbed as fast as his Wildcat could manage, 2,000 feet per minute, but the Japanese were already overhead, at 12,000 feet, beginning their attack dives. Swede had no altitude advantage, no sun advantage, no position advantage. He was climbing into a swarm of Japanese aircraft with 4 Wildcats against 67 attackers. "All Reapers," Swede radioed. "We're engaging. Stay in pairs. Watch each other's tails. Go." The Val dive bombers were already screaming toward Hornet. Swede couldn't stop them all, but he could stop some. If you want to see how one pilot shot down 7 Japanese aircraft in one day and saved his carrier, hit that like button right now. Every like tells YouTube to share stories like Swede Vejtasa's with people who need to hear them. Stories about pilots who refused to follow suicide orders and proved skill beats speed. Subscribe for weekly forgotten hero stories from Vejtasa. Real pilots, real combat, real proof that one person can change everything. Now back to Swede and the 7 kills. 09:01 hours. Swede spotted the first Val dive bomber at 10,000 feet. The Val was lining up on Hornet. The Aichi D-3A Val was Japan's primary dive bomber. Maximum speed, 267 mph. Armed with 2 7.7mm machine guns forward, 1 7.7mm rear-facing. Swede's F4F Wildcat, maximum speed 320 mph. Armed with 650 caliber Browning M2 machine guns, 240 rounds per gun. Swede closed from the Val's 7 o'clock position. The rear gunner saw him, opened fire. 7.7mm rounds passed over Swede's canopy, ineffective at this range. Swede waited until 300 yards, centered the Val in his gun sight, fired a 2-second burst, 72 50 caliber rounds. Each bullet carried 13,000 foot-pounds of energy. The Val's left wing disintegrated. Fuel tank exploded. The aircraft rolled inverted and dove into the ocean. Kill number 1. Swede pulled up, scanned for his next target. Below him, Hornet was under attack. Multiple Vals diving, bombs falling. One bomb hit Hornet's flight deck, penetrated, exploded inside the hangar deck. Fire erupted. A second bomb hit. Then a third. Hornet was burning. Swede couldn't save her now, but he could save Enterprise. 09:07 hours. A second wave of Vals was diving on Enterprise. Swede spotted one Val at 8,000 feet, already in its dive, accelerating toward Enterprise. The Val had released its bomb. The pilot was pulling up from the dive. Standard doctrine: don't chase aircraft that have already dropped. They're no longer a threat. Find targets that still carry weapons. Swede ignored doctrine. That Val pilot would return to his carrier. Rearm, attack again tomorrow. Swede dove after him. The Val was at 2,000 feet, pulling out of its dive. Speed, 280 mph. Swede's Wildcat in a dive, 350 mph. He closed rapidly, got within 400 yards. The Val's rear gunner opened fire. Swede didn't flinch. He'd been shot at by Zeros. A single 7mm gun didn't scare him. He closed to 200 yards, fired. The Val's engine cowling shattered. Oil streamed back. The aircraft rolled right and hit the water. Killed number 2. Arrow 9 to 10 hours. The Val attack was over. Hornet was heavily damaged. Enterprise had taken one bomb hit but was still operational, but the Kates were coming. 09:20 hours. Swede saw them. 16 Nakajima B-5N, Kate torpedo bombers, flying low, 200 feet above the water, heading straight for Enterprise. The Kate was Japan's primary torpedo bomber. Maximum speed, 235 mph. Armed with one forward-firing 7.7 mm gun, one rear-facing 7.7 mm gun. Carried one Type 91 aerial torpedo. If those torpedoes hit Enterprise, she would sink. Swede keyed his radio. "Harris, on me! We're taking the Kates!" Harris, "Copy, right behind you." Swede dove toward the torpedo bomber formation. They were in a tight V formation. Professional, disciplined. He had to break the formation, force them to scatter. Make them jettison their torpedoes before reaching drop range. 09:21 hours. Swede came in from the side, high side pass, diving at 350 baud mph toward the formation. The Kate pilots saw him, tightened formation. Their rear gunners opened fire. Swede ignored the tracers, picked the lead Kate, fired. The Kate's engine exploded. The aircraft cart wheeled into the ocean. Kill number 3, but Swede was going too fast. Overshoot. He flashed through the formation, pulled up hard. 7 Gs. Vision graying from blood draining from his head. He reversed, came back around. Dave Harris had attacked simultaneously. Shot down another Kate. 14 Kates remaining. The formation was broken. Kates scattered. Some turned left, some right, trying to regroup. Swede picked another target, a Kate flying alone, 500 yards ahead. He closed, fired a 3-second burst. The Kate's tail section separated. The aircraft nosed into the water. Kill number 4. 09:23 hours. The Kates were attempting to reform. 3 aircraft forming up in a new V. Swede attacked the formation from above. Dove on the leader. Fired. Direct hit. The Kate exploded. Kill number 5. But Swede's wingman, Dave Harris, had a problem. A Zero had jumped him. Harris was defensive, evading. Swede abandoned the Kates, turned toward Harris. The Zero was on Harris's tail, firing. Rounds hitting Harris's Wildcat. Swede closed from the Zero's 6 o'clock, fired. The Zero broke off, damaged but not destroyed. Harris radioed, "Thanks, Swede. I'm hit but flyable." Swede, "Get back to the ship. I'll handle the Kates." Harris limped back toward Enterprise. Swede was alone now. 09:25 hours. 11 Kates remaining. They were closing on Enterprise. 2,000 yards from drop range. Swede flew directly into the formation. Head on. The Kate pilots saw one Wildcat charging 11 bombers. Suicidal. Swede opened fire at 1,000 yards. Long range. But he wasn't trying to hit them. He was trying to force them to break. It worked. The formation scattered. 3 Kates broke left. 4 broke right. 4 continued straight. Swede reversed hard, pulled onto the tail of one Kate. The Kate pilot was jinking, left, right, up, down, trying to evade. Swede stayed with him, matched every maneuver. At 300 yards, he fired. The Kate's left wing folded. The aircraft spun into the ocean. Killed number 6. 09:27 hours. 10 Kates remaining. 5 had jettisoned their torpedoes. Too scared to continue the attack, they fled. 5 Kates still carried torpedoes, still advancing on Enterprise. Swede's ammunition counter, 180 rounds remaining, enough for 2 more attacks, maybe 3 if he was conservative. He picked the nearest Kate, closed rapidly. The Kate's rear gunner fired desperately. Rounds passed under Swede's wing. Swede fired a 1-second burst, 36 rounds. The Kate's engine erupted in flames. The aircraft dove into the water. Kill number 7. 7 Japanese aircraft destroyed. 2 Vals, 5 Kates. Swede's ammunition counter, 144 rounds remaining. 4 Kates still approaching Enterprise. Swede positioned for another attack. But before he could fire, Enterprise's anti-aircraft guns opened up. Massive barrage, 5-inch guns, 40mm Bofors, 20mm Oerlikons. The sky filled with exploding shells. One Kate was hit, exploded. A second Kate jettisoned its torpedo, fled. A third Kate continued its attack run, dropped its torpedo at 1,000 yards. Enterprise's captain, Osborne Hardison, saw the torpedo wake, ordered hard rudder. Enterprise turned. The torpedo passed 50 feet from her hull, missed. The fourth Kate dropped its torpedo, also missed. The attack was over. Enterprise survived. Swede had shot down 7 aircraft. Harris had shot down 1. Anti-aircraft guns destroyed 2 more. The remaining Kates fled. Swede circled Enterprise. His fuel gauge showed 45 gallons remaining, enough for maybe 15 minutes. He called the ship. Enterprise, Reaper 7, request landing clearance. Enterprise. Reaper 7, stand by. Deck is full. We're landing Hornets aircraft. Swede's fuel, 40 gallons. He circled, watched other aircraft land. Hornets pilots. Their carrier was sinking. They needed to land somewhere. Enterprise's deck filled. Aircraft parked wingtip to wingtip. Swede's fuel, 25 gallons. Enterprise, Reaper 7, I'm at bingo fuel. Need to land now. Enterprise. Reaper 7, we have no room. Recommend you head for Espiritu Santo. Espiritu Santo was 200 miles away. Swede had fuel for maybe 50 miles. Negative, Enterprise, I'm landing on you. Swede entered the landing pattern. Final approach. The landing signal officer, Lieutenant Robin Lindsay, saw Swede's Wildcat, saw the fuel situation, made a decision. Lindsay gave Swede an early cut signal. Land short, catch the first wire, lock the deck. Swede trusted Lindsay. He cut power early, dropped onto the deck. His tail hook grabbed the rearmost arresting wire. He stopped 6 feet from the edge of the deck. The deck was full. No more aircraft could land. 16 remaining pilots ditched in the ocean. Some were rescued, others drowned. Swede climbed out of his cockpit. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline crash. Lieutenant Commander Flatley met him on the flight deck. Swede, how many did you get? 7, sir. 2 Vals, 5 Kates. Flatley stared at him. 7? In one mission? Yes, sir. Flatley smiled. I'm recommending you for the Medal of Honor. October 27, 1942, the morning after the battle. USS Hornet was sinking. Torpedoed by Japanese destroyers during the night, she went down at 01:35 hours. Enterprise was the only operational American carrier in the Pacific. If Swede hadn't stopped those Kate torpedo bombers, Enterprise would have sunk too. The U.S. would have had 0 carriers in the Pacific theater. Guadalcanal would have fallen. The war might have been lost, but Enterprise survived because of Swede and Dave Harris and the other Grim Reapers. Flatley submitted his Medal of Honor recommendation. It reached Rear Admiral Kincaid. Kincaid, still angry that Swede had questioned his suicide mission on October 25th, downgraded the recommendation from Medal of Honor to Distinguished Flying Cross. Flatley protested, "That's outrageous. Swede saved Enterprise. He deserves the Medal of Honor." Kincaid refused to reconsider. The recommendation went up the chain of command. Someone, wiser than Kincaid, upgraded it. Swede was awarded his 3rd Navy Cross. The citation read, "For extraordinary heroism, as leader of a combat air patrol of 4 fighters, as great numbers of enemy dive bombers and torpedo planes launched a vicious attack upon his carrier, Lieutenant Vejtasa unhesitatingly challenged and shot down 2 Japanese dive bombers and then gallantly led his patrol in an attack on a group of enemy torpedo planes with such daring aggressiveness that the formation was completely broken and 3 of the hostile bombers jettisoned their torpedoes as they fled." 3 Navy Crosses. The only pilot in Y2 to earn Navy Crosses for both dive bombing and aerial combat. But Swede never flew combat again. May 1943. Swede was transferred back to the United States, assigned as a flight instructor at Naval Air Station Atlantic City. He requested return to combat. Denied. "You've done enough, Lieutenant. We need experienced instructors more than we need more pilots in combat." Swede trained hundreds of pilots. Many went on to fly in combat. Many survived because of his training. But Swede never returned to the Pacific. His final tally, 1025 aerial victories, including 0.25 shared credit for a Kawanishi H-6K Mavis flying boat on November 13, 1942. He remained in the Navy after the war. Korean War, air officer aboard USS Essex. 1959, commanded the ammunition ship USS Fire Drake. 1962, commanded the aircraft carrier USS Constellation. 1970, retired as captain. Swede died January 23, 2013, age 98. In accordance with his wishes, he was cremated and his ashes were scattered at sea. The tactic that saved him. Swede Vejtasa survived War II because he understood something other pilots didn't. Speed isn't everything. The Zero was faster than the Dauntless. The Zero could outturn the Wildcat. But Swede had tactics. When flying the Dauntless against Zeros, he used head-on attacks, turn into the enemy, maximize the range and deflection of his forward guns, force the Zero to break off or collide. It worked because Zeros were lightly armored. One burst from a .50 caliber gun could destroy them. When flying the Wildcat against Vals and Kates, he used energy tactics, dive from above, build speed, make one pass, pull up, repeat, never get slow, never get into a turning fight. His tactics became standard doctrine for U.S. Navy fighters. Swede should have died multiple times. May 8, 1942, 8 Zeros attacking his Dauntless. He survived. October 26, 1942, 67 Japanese aircraft attacking Enterprise. He survived. His secret, skill, tactics, and refusal to accept defeat. When other pilots said impossible, Swede said, "Watch me." For 70 years, Swede Vejtasa was forgotten. Most Americans knew about Audie Murphy, Desmond Doss, other Medal of Honor recipients. Few knew about Swede. Why? Because he didn't receive the Medal of Honor. Because Kincaid downgraded the recommendation. In 2006, retired Rear Admiral Whitey Feitner, Swede's wingman during Santa Cruz, gave an interview. Swede earned the Medal of Honor that day. Everyone knows it. 7 kills, saved Enterprise. If that's not worthy of the medal, what is? In 2018, author Ted Edwards published 7 at Santa Cruz, The Life of Fighter Ace Stanley Swede Vejtasa. The book brought Swede's story to a new generation, but Swede never sought recognition. In a 2012 interview, 1 year before his death, he was asked if he was a hero. His response, "No way, that honor belongs to Robin Lindsay." Lindsay was the landing signal officer who gave Swede the early cut signal, who saved his life by letting him land on a full deck. Swede deflected credit, always. The numbers that prove it. Combat record. 10. 25 aerial victories, 3 Navy crosses, only pilot to earn them for both bombing and fighting, 1 Bronze Star, multiple air medals, 0 aircraft lost to enemy action. Battle of Coral Sea, May 1942. Helped sink Japanese carrier Shoho, shot down 3 Zeros while flying a dive bomber, survived with 55 bullet holes in aircraft. Battle of Santa Cruz, October 1942. Shot down 7 Japanese aircraft in one mission, saved USS Enterprise from torpedo attack, became ace in a day. Career. 1937, enlisted in U.S. Navy. 1939, earned Wings of Gold. 1942, 3 combat deployments. 1943, 1945, flight instructor, trained 400-plus pilots. 1970, retired as captain. 2013, died age 98. The lesson Swede Vejtasa proved 3 things. 1, the right aircraft doesn't matter. Swede shot down Zeros in a dive bomber, the wrong aircraft for dogfighting. He shot down 7 aircraft in one day while flying a Wildcat, slower than Zeros, but tactically superior in his hands. Aircraft specifications matter less than pilot skill. 2. Following orders isn't always right. Swede loudly objected to the October 25th suicide mission. He was right. 16 aircraft were lost. His commander was angry, downgraded his Medal of Honor recommendation, but Swede saved lives by speaking up. 3. One pilot can change everything. October 26, 1942. Enterprise was the only American carrier between Guadalcanal and defeat. If Swede hadn't stopped those Kates, Enterprise would have sunk. No carrier, no air support. Guadalcanal falls, Marines die, 1 pilot, 7 kills, change the war, the final mission. January 23, 2013. Swede Vejtasa died peacefully at home, age 98. His obituary in the New York Times was 6 paragraphs, brief, understated. It mentioned his 3 Navy crosses, his 10.25 kills, his service. It didn't mention that he saved Enterprise, didn't mention that he changed the course of Vejtasa, didn't mention that he proved dive bombers could dogfight. Because Swede never told those stories. He deflected credit, insisted others were the heroes, but the pilots who flew with him knew. Dave Harris, his wingman, said in 2010, "Swede was the best pilot I ever flew with. Calm, skilled, brave. He saved my life that day. Saved all of us." James Flatley, his commanding officer, said in 1987, "Swede earned the Medal of Honor. No question. The fact that he didn't receive it is a travesty. But medals don't make heroes. Actions do. And Swede's actions speak for themselves." Robin Lindsay, the LSO who gave Swede the early cut signal, said in 2005, "Swede landed with maybe 10 gallons of fuel, enough for 2 more minutes in the air. If I hadn't given him that early cut, he'd have crashed in the ocean. But he trusted me, landed perfectly, and walked away. That's the kind of pilot he was." The legacy. Swede Vejtasa's tactics became standard doctrine. Head-on attacks against enemy fighters, energy tactics against bombers, never get slow, never get into a turning fight. The Thatch Weave, John Thatch's famous defensive tactic, was influenced by Swede's aggressive head-on approach. Every Navy fighter pilot after 1942 learned Swede's lessons, but few knew his name until someone tells the story. If Swede Vejtasa's story inspired you, hit that like button right now. Every like tells YouTube to share this story with more people. To everyone who's been told they're flying the wrong aircraft, doing the wrong job, following the wrong path. Swede proved that skill and determination matter more than speed and firepower. He shot down 3 Zeros in a dive bomber, the wrong aircraft. He shot down 7 enemy aircraft in 1 day, saved his carrier, changed the war. And he did it while disobeying orders that would have killed him. Hit subscribe for weekly forgotten hero stories from WBW, real pilots, real tactics. Real proof that one person can change everything. Turn on notifications because next week we're covering the Tuskegee Airmen never lost a bomber, the myth, the truth, and why it matters. Drop a comment right now and tell us, where are you watching from? Have you ever been told you're doing something the wrong way and proved them wrong? Did anyone in your family serve in naval aviation? Who inspires you more? The pilot who follows orders or the pilot who questions them? We read every single comment. This community is global. You're part of keeping these stories alive. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making sure Swede Vejtasa's name never disappears into silence. The Navy said, "You're just a dive bomber pilot." He shot down 3 Zeros in that dive bomber. The Admiral downgraded his Medal of Honor. He saved Enterprise anyway. Never let anyone tell you what you can't do.